All right, so we're doing a trade recap of today's trade. Today is 2/5/2025. I believe it is Wednesday. It is Wednesday. I want to start by going into what I was looking at on the higher time frames. Going into today, I was bullish because we had an SMT at these lows. Let me show you. We had an SMT at these lows here. There's an SMT. Boom. Okay, cool. We have a 4 hour fair value gap that was respected. We pushed above, swept those lows. We had another 4 hour fair value gap that's respected and pushed above. Now, obviously, pretend like these candles weren't there. Going into the morning, going into the morning, there's this 1 hour fair value gap. I'll mark it out. This 1 hour fair value gap that we were tapping into, show ES, 'cause I think we might have even had an SMT in that 1 hour fair value gap. Yeah. So, we had an SMT at this point. That's what I know. We had an SMT. We were tapping into this 15-minute fair value gap. What I was wanting to see, sorry, the hourly fair value gap. Going on a lower time frame, we had this 15-minute fair value gap, and we had Asia highs that we had taken out, and NQ was very far from. This is where the SMT was on these Asia highs. What I wanted to see going into today, I wanted to see buys, but I saw this opportunity to short. So going into today, I knew that we had news at 10 a.m. We had PMI, red folder news at 10 a.m. But I was watching that 1 hour and that 15-minute fair value gap. We tapped into it. We got to change the state on the 1 minute because if it was 15-minute fair value gap, then we have a 1 minute change of the state. This was our change of the state. I put a limit order. I waited for us to get tapped back in. We got tapped back in, and I wanted to the take it to these lows. What I also want to point out is that this white line right here is also a 15-minute change in the state of delivery from where we were delivering from this 4 hour fair value gap that we had right here. So going into the day, I was already in this trade at this point. There's a change in the state of delivery. We waited for the tap. We got tapped back in. At this point, news came out. I was up about like $800, and then as soon as we started to retrace, I exited and we came out with like $400, 430, $450. This was a pretty decent trade. It did end up hitting my TP after the fact though. And this trade made me a lot of money, even though it was only like 17 points. So I'm really learning a lot with this evaluation. So then after that trade took place, I was very patient and I noticed that we had this change in state that we were tapping back into, as well as this 4 hour fair value gap. So what I was looking to see, since we were in another 4 hour fair value gap, is a 15-minute change in state. Although we already had one of these. The thing is, I didn't notice this until after I had started taking my trades. So honestly, this right here could have been an entry in itself. This long could have been an entry in itself. But I obviously didn't notice that changed the state off that 4 hour previously. So what I was looking for was another 15-minute change in the state before I took my entry. Kind of just letting flat price play out. That's actually when I decided to come over to NQ because we also had an SMT at these lows here, which indicates bullish, which is a bullish indicator. So, watching price on NQ, I was wanting these equal highs to be taken out. So I was waiting for this 15-minute right here to get closed above. Boom, we got closed above right here. And I was waiting for I'm pretty sure I waited for a tap. Yep, we got tapped in right here. Actually, no, we didn't get tapped in. I waited because I saw this retracement and 15-minute change the states of delivery. I mean, I'm not used to them. I think from what I've been seeing that they retrace a little bit deeper. So I was just trying to see if we could inverse this 1 minute fair value gap. And we did. Once we inversed that 1 minute fair value gap, I took my entry on this candle. And I was trying to go break even here and write it to the two to the high to the equal highs that I previously mentioned. Now, one thing I'm starting to realize about myself is that if I take one trade and it wins or it loses, the next trade I'm going to be worrisome about because I'm worried about the profit that I just made or the money that I just lost. So I have to really identify with the fact that if it's within my plan, I'm okay. Whether it's a winning or a losing trade, the trade that happened before has nothing to do with the trade that's happening now. And that's something that I gotta be okay with. Um, I think I should have held this trade. I ended up like dropping this trade for like $30 and that brought us to like the 480. But this trade actually played out. Especially my plan to go break even here. I don't think this is necessarily a trade that we need to go break even on. One, because it's within the trend. The trend was bullish. Like my bias was bullish. It was within my bias. It's not a counter trend. This trade, this is a trade that I should go break even on because one, it's counter trend. Um, and two, there was news at 9 a.m. So the odds, the probability, not necessarily in my favor. But this trade ended up hitting um, later on in the day, and I think this was a pretty solid trade. We were patient for this. Had we held it, that would have been another really good trade. If we went full size on this trade, we would have made a good amount. I think 250 times three is what, 750. So we would have made about 750 on this trade had we held it and went full size and ignored whatever happened in that trade before. Like once I take one trade, I just need to be able to let it go out of my mind and be okay with taking another trade that's within my plan. And also I was worried about being greedy. So that's today's trade recap. That's why I took these trades. Are they really not on here? Yeah, they're not on here. But I did take them. You can go look at my previous video that I posted today of my live execution. So that's live. You see me talking about the trade, you see me executing the trade. And yeah. So thanks. Bye.